Welcome to the Equine Affair. This is our 31st annual exposition here in Columbus, Ohio. At this time, if you will, please turn off your cell phones and pagers just for the duration of our clinic, please. USDF FEI certified trainer, Ms. Truett, is the president, owner, and head trainer of Nancy Horse Farm in Lebanon, Ohio. She began running early, starting on American quarter horses and showing it everything she could through 4-H. As a teenager, she transitioned to eventing on an off-the-track thoroughbred and then found her heart's desire in dressage. Never having enough money to buy trained horses, she developed her own from scratch and made 2 successful Grand Prix horses, Lafayette HQ and Absolute Dream. Ms. Truett considers winning back-to-back USDF finals aboard Dreaming as her most significant accomplishment to date. Jennifer and Lenny Truett, her husband, are the sole licensing distributors of the Savvy feeder, the preeminent option to safely slow feed hay in a healthy, head-down position, anywhere, anytime, in coordination with her longtime vet, Dr. Bryan. Ms. Truett has established the Sport Horse Wellness Center. SHWCT specializes in solving sport horse performance and lameness puzzles. They develop customized maintenance and preventative programs using a wide array of therapeutic modalities to improve the overall health and welfare of the equine athletes. Today, Jen Truett and Dr. Bryan McNabb will be presenting Sport Horse Wellness, solving puzzles one horse at a time. Let's give them a nice round of applause as a welcome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for coming in to the first scheduled session of the morning, waking up early to see us just gab.
Yes, thank you. I love this kind of venue, and Jen and I were talking about with Jamie, because it's more of like a round table type of feel. So if in the middle of it, anytime you're like, oh, I've got a really good thought or idea about that or question, feel free to interrupt. We are going to interrupt each other, because that's how we interact. Yeah.
That's a great question.
One that has 4 legs and a rider on top, sometimes.
And a tail.
And a tail. So yeah, no, I as a veterinarian, I define the sport horses is more of like interchangeable with companion, interchangeable with pet, interchangeable with many different things. And I like that because then it doesn't pigeonhole anything. And it doesn't pigeonhole you as a rider or you as a trainer. Like if you want to do a lot of on-ground work, which Jen does like 50% of the time, if not more.
At least I expect them to act like they were trained to have ground work.
Yeah, that's what I look at it as for sure. Know that Jen doesn't pigeonhole her clients and her horses that she's training either. So
I think a sport horse is basically a horse that you have an expectation of them doing something more than eating and moving. If you expect them to be a riding horse, they're an athlete, that makes them a sport horse, right?
yeah.
It's easy. So if they're just allowed to be a pasture pet, they're probably not a sport horse.
Yeah.
Question, yes. Speak up.
We will get to that for sure. That's a great question.
We have some video.
Yeah, we have to do it. It's an awesome part.
You got it. Great question. Anything else? Okay, I just want to point out that this is my Dreamy. He's smiling. He is the happiest little horse you'll ever meet. He smiles all the time. Okay, so he's a puzzle. They're all puzzle. If they eat and they poop and they whinny, they're a puzzle. Doesn't matter. They're all puzzles.
Yeah, I really like that Jen put it as a puzzle because it's, even in the medicine side of things, you don't want to look at your horses as problem horses. That's the biggest line of BS ever, I think. And it's really frustrating because then it casts away a lot of these really great horses, which she'll talk about. She's had many of them herself, and so they're not problem horses, they're puzzle horses. And then you already change your mindset, not only as a trainer, but as a veterinarian, as a rider, as an owner, and as a worker on the horses, that you're going to be peeling away pieces of the onion, as Jen always says, and I love that analogy, is that you're peeling away pieces of an onion in order to get to the root cause of whatever it is, or the root cause of making them a better sport horse or a better companion. So I like puzzle, not problem.
Puzzle, not problem, exactly. So if you have a horse that you're confused, you're trying to figure out, well, why does this horse do this, no matter what we've done, it's probably, you might be actually dealing with a symptom and not the cause. So I try to make sure people understand whatever is most obvious and is bothering you the most may not actually be the issue. And you have to dig deeper, and that's where the onion is such a good example. So it could be misbehavior, it could be cribbing, it could be, there's so many things horses do to try to communicate with us, but they can't speak English. And we just have to pay attention to all of those things. So we have some examples of things listed here. One thing I do want to make sure that you guys understand that as a dressage rider, riding sport horses, because they're not in just my backyard, I have expectations of them. I also understand that they are athletes, and we have gradually increasing expectations of them. So if we want them to be athletes, they're going to be changing. So that means you've got to be assessing their tack, you have to assess their nutrition, you have to assess their comfort. I have Bryan out on a regular basis to do just a lameness workup on all of the horses, every horse I have in my program, even if I don't think that there's something wrong. Because I need to know that based on the fact that it's been however many months, and I've done the work that I've done, that horse has probably got some athletic pain, which is expected. So we've got to work hand in hand with our health. Basically, my team is Bryan on the veterinary side, my farrier, my body workers, my osteopath who's sitting here today. And, this is a group effort. So make sure that you bring in all of your support network to help you in more than just when there's a problem. Okay, next slide. And by the way, this is my business manager, Janie, over here running the slides. Thank you so much, Janie, for doing this. Okay, this is my first real love horse. This is Taffy. So I got Taffy, Bryan and I were new to each other. We bought our farm in Ohio 19 years ago, and
I started practicing veterinary medicine as a veterinarian in 2003, so it was literally right after.
It was 2006 when we bought the farm. So, and we got Taffy in 2007, and I bought him for $1 because he was crazy. He was probably going to be put down. That was what the breeder wanted to do because he was so lame. He basically, if you entered him, he would just bolt and run. But I just lost my horse. We just had to put her down. And I needed something to fill the void in my heart. So we didn't really know everything that was wrong with him when we got him, but Bryan and I looked at that onion and said, let's peel away the layers.
Yeah, I think that, that's it. It goes back to just what you were asking. Okay, well, did that horse start off as a sport horse? Well, when he was born, his owner thought, this is going to be the next strong great horse. But then he jumps into a manure spreader, and then you're handed a little bit of a different situation, right? And so when Jen came to me and she's like, okay, well, this is what we're presented. It's a meatball sandwich, right? And so, but it's fun.
I said, Bryan, help me fix it.
That's right. And so you look at it and she goes, okay, well, he's doing X and Y. And then we start talking about and deducing, okay, well, what are the reasons for it? And Jane had a good point. You have a bullseye, and everybody goes, well, you have a moving bullseye, but it's really not a moving bullseye. You have maybe one bullseye at the beginning of it that she wants to have him as her main sport horse, her main riding horse. So then you work backwards on it, and you start to say, okay, well, what is it that's precluding us from getting this horse to that level? Is it a lameness issue? Is it an emotional issue? Is it a behavioral issue? Is it an issue where it might be a metabolic issue, or is it an issue where you're having something medically like gastric ulcers? Most of the time, finally have the saddle that fits Taffy. It's going to be the best saddle, and it's going to be the only saddle I ever have to own for him. Well, that's a big line of BS, because Taffy's body's going to evolve, Jen is going to evolve, she's going to become more fit as a rider, so is the horse, and then it creates a little bit of a different issue. Not an issue in a bad way, an issue in where you have to kind of augment your focus on it, change a little bit, change your saddle, refit the saddle, and then say, okay, well, now it's causing a little bit of a back issue. Then, Bryan, how do we fix the back issue? And it's never a bad thing. It's all part of the game. It's part of the game of riding horses, and what makes it so much fun. It should be for all of our standpoint. If you wanted to have the exact same thing every single day, get into motorcycles, and you'll have the same motorcycle every single day.
You'd save a lot of money.
You'd save a lot of money.
Save a lot of money.
We both have horses, and we both know that.
That's right. So what we eventually figured out with Taffy, as I spent about a year and a half in rehab on him, he actually had a longitudinal fracture in his left hind hand. So he had gotten it stuck in the tongue of the North Strider induced for. And they didn't really know that he had done that. They just knew that he had a lot of lacerations. So we had that scarring. He had scarring up his hip. He had massive fascial tears in various parts of his body, muscle tears. So we were able to rehab all of that. Got him building. So this picture is from his very first show where he did like first level test 1. And then this picture, I think, is that when I came out of the arena, having just done his first Grand Prix. So it was actually only like 6 years from that picture to that picture, and I've never made a Grand Prix horse before. But what we did in the process was Bryan and I, hand in hand, with body workers, with the farrier, because Taffy also had emotional trauma. He was very claustrophobic, so he would go in his stall and just walk circles, always to the left, always to the left. And so he wore his feet down, so that, and he always had his long right side and his short left side making circles. So I actually worked with, I talked to people who can talk to horses. Thank you, communicators, thank you. This seems a group effort. I mean, we did everything, saddles, bridles, bits, but because I was always out there asking anyone who would listen to my story, he made it, and he loved his job, absolutely loved working. He found confidence with me that he didn't have on his own, just if he was just out in the pasture, he was chicken. His breeder said he was actually born scared of his own shadow. She literally saw him spook when he saw his shadow.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, when you're listening to us talk up here, I want you to really pay attention to, like, it's almost like, not banter, but it's true communication, and that's what it takes. Like, when she's saying these ideas, make sure that when you're giving your veterinarian the history, that they don't just pigeonhole themselves and become biased because of what they might have as preconceived ideas to the particular case. When she was talking about with Taffy always circling, you know, as a veterinarian, you start to go through your Rolodex of issues, and you start to say, okay, well, it's got ulcers, it's got maybe a visual problem, it's got anxiety, separation anxiety. So I already have a worked-in bias, just like she would as a trainer. But what is very important, and I think is the success of it, is individually looking at every single case so that you compartmentalize those bias so that you are trying to treat each patient as an individual, though they might have the common problems, like she was saying with Taffy. It was an undiagnosed linear fracture. Well, okay, we take care of that. And then it was all of the muscle issues. We addressed that from my standpoint. And then I trust her. Yeah, and I trust her that she's doing the rehab side of it, which we're still working hand in hand with. And then we had ulcer issues. We deal with the stomach ulcers. That helps with the emotional side of things. And so, and we touch on it later. It really is a team effort, and that's where Jen is so unique so much more successful because she gives good history, she gives good feedback, and while we're working on the horse, she's not just going, it's just another little bit of limping in this part. But she goes to the next level and says, okay, well, I'm feeling this. I'm working through the horse. This is what I'm encountering when I'm asking to do this particular movement. All of those things are very, very, very important. And I can encourage you is just try to keep in good communication with your veterinarian, your trainer, your body worker, like all of those, the whole team, your chiropractor. So all of those things are what you'll see on the slides is what makes them from potential throwaway horses or horses that are dangerous or meeting a plateau to becoming and excelling to the next level.
I think that's a great segue into the next slide. So if I had anything I could give you guys, you might be trainers, you might be riders, owners, breeders, you have to feel comfortable and confident to express how you feel, how your horse makes you feel, what your horse is telling you when you talk to your service providers, those people on your team. And if you don't feel like that person is listening, go to someone else. I can't tell you the number of times I've talked to people or had a new client come in and say, well, I've been telling my vet this, and I'm like, your vet's not listening then. Get a different vet, get a different trainer, get a different farrier. Yeah, be your horse's advocate. So as in terms of disobedience, now look at this eye. This picture of this eye, that is a happy, calm, confident eye. So this horse is actually Janie's horse. We bought her 2 years ago. And we bought her because she was lovely. She was a 4th level horse. And Janie could get on and do everything that we wanted to do. She was just a fantastic horse. She was, 10 when we got her? Yeah, 10. Okay. So we get her home, and we totally trust the vet. The vet that did the vetting is our vet. We have the whole history of the horse. I knew the trainer. Like, there was nothing untoward that happened with this horse. We get her home from Florida, and she starts acting out. She starts rearing, really out of the blue. And I am so anal about equipment that, I've got tons and tons of bridles and saddles. The saddles are amazing. The Sue Carson saddles that we use, they're air, so I need to be. I've got pads, half pads. I have the best workers, team around me. This horse is still randomly, literally canter, slam the brakes on, rear. She had never done anything like this before. And we knew for a fact she had earned multiple people their bronze medals, like people who just got on and rode her and she was a superstar. So there's something wrong. We can't figure it out. We've done blood work. We've done everything we can. We just don't know what's going on with her. And so I, of course, start changing the training to try to find where can I take her that she's happy? Because that's what I care about. If it's going to be a sport horse and not somebody's pasture ornament, they need to enjoy the job. I'm not going to force a horse to do something they don't want to do. So, Bryan is working hand in hand with me. We're working with our body workers. We're not figuring it out. And I start to learn about MFM, which is myofibular myopathy, and that's spelled out there. So it's a disease of the muscles, and it's very common in warm bloods and apparently racing Arabians, which is really interesting. I had just heard about it, didn't know anything about it, but I found somebody who did know about it. So a friend of mine who's a trainer in Michigan actually had multiple horses that she had recently experienced this with. And this is a new diagnosis. How old is this?
Probably about 4 to 6 years old.
That's what I was thinking, around 5 years old.
The longest, yeah.
Yes.
And once they started to really get better at diagnosing, and that's a really important thing is that you're saying is, it's a evolving, it's the art of veterinary medicine. It's not like the tried and true mathematical that they 1, 2, 3. So it is always evolving, and I think that it's really neat that Jet stays on the forefront of it. Janie stays on the forefront of it with being an active owner, and the diagnosing of this particular disease, it's still not great. It's getting better. But just because you go to a tertiary institute, you can name it, OSU or Brill or Haggards or wherever, or Palm Beach Equine, it doesn't matter. Sometimes they're not going to give you the absolute diagnosis. It doesn't mean that they're not correct or they're not good. It just means that they might not have the ability to diagnose it yet. In this particular case, it was really, really lucky. I'll let you go because you want to touch on that part of it.
Yeah, so we were in Florida when we finally started kind of honing in on what was going on. And we were working with a vet out of Palm Beach Equine, who he calls himself Peter Plan, because he always comes up with a plan. He says, I can't live without a plan. So he came in and we had already done all the required testing, vitamin E, EPM, all the neurologic testing. And so he came in and did muscle biopsies. And she came back positive for MFM, which what it is the horses don't have an antioxidant in their bodies, just naturally, that removes desmin. Desmin is, if you think of like a crystalline structure like sugar, it actually builds up in the muscles, and so it makes the muscles less elastic. So what happens is, if the horses, they're working and their muscles are trying to warm up and they can't, they actually lock up and cramp. And so it actually makes it so that they're in tremendous pain. And they act out. They're like, this hurts, I don't want to do that. And thankfully, they created a supplement that's just a pelleted supplement and a liquid. So the supplement is literally called MFM. And the liquid is NanoQ10. And they actually reduce and eliminate desmin from the body. The NanoQ10 provides the antioxidant. And the horses just live on it the rest of their lives and you never look back. Yes? That's a great question, yes. It shows up usually between 8 and 10 years old. She's 10. No, it's literally the buildup of desmin in the muscles.
Yeah, it's a gene expression that usually turns on later in life, which is really odd. You know, like you think of it as like, okay, well, your genetic code is expressing who you are, but that's, you think about it that way, but then you also have to think about it when people develop into diabetics later in life and those type of things. So that's how I kind of tell people to think about it, is it's a gene expression that doesn't come right as they're young little foals farting and
It's age-related.
age-related, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So she had gotten to the point before we figured this out that I was unwilling to ride her. I didn't let Janie ride her. I was unwilling to ride her. Thankfully, we're in Florida where there are guys that are willing to ride that are really good and quiet but very strong. And if the horse is going to be naughty, you put those guys on. So we had one of those guys riding her and kept her going. And he was so skilled at not putting her in a place where she ever felt like she couldn't softly stop. And so she never had to rear. So we got her through it while we were starting the treatment, and then brought her home, and now this is the face we see every day. She's happy, she's comfortable. We finally were able to do all of the maintenance, basic maintenance, hocks, all of that stuff, because we finally had a normal horse again, the one that we bought 2 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, I know that we have to be a little brief and we can't go into everything, but we'll be around and we'll be over at Jen's booth with Savvy Feeders so that we can answer any specific questions that are like a little bit more detail oriented. But what I really think is great, a nice take home is that you have to do a lot of the unfolding. Some of it, yes, it does cost money, which I am very, very sensitive to as a veterinarian and as an owner of horses. The diagnosing of it sometimes does take a lot of time and money. But once you get it, it's an easy fix. And now Janie's freaking rocking and rolling on Elena. And that horse was literally, we had even discussed possible euthanasia because she was so dangerous and so, like, it was a bad scenario. But they didn't give up on it, and they kept pulling away. Piece of the onion, exhausting all of, not just Bryan. I mean, yes, I'm very proud of my knowledge as a veterinarian, and I feel like I do a decent job with horses, but they were going around to even the best of the best neurologists, the best of the best case,
Oh, yeah, go ahead, next slide.
yeah, we're
This is just a
talking
round.
about
Let me
that.
just
The
talk.
next case is
Next
a
slide.
really, really cool integration of, well, we can talk about this first, yeah, before we get to, Trina. So this is, just a little bit of like going through the vet side of things is, you know, they always say no foot, no horse, and it couldn't be more true, because the foundation of the horse is its foot, not just literal or physical, but truly what you are when you're working through that as a case. In over 90% of the lamenesses, which then in turn become behavioral issues, 90% of those are foot related. And not only foot related because you have a crappy barrier or you have a foot abscess or those type of things, but balancing, but the right type of shoeing package. And that's why I wanted to put this one up here, is because it's a saddle brand. When they put a shoeing package on, even just a little bit of augmenting where that package would be, or where lead is screwed into it, it changes the flight pattern. That changes and the whole entire biomechanics of being able to make this horse be really comfortable in the joints above it, the shoulder above it, the rider above it, but the back comfort, the neck comfort. So it's really, to me, I work out on it, I love it, because it's so much fun. And they're beautiful animals, just like there's beautiful quarter horses that go barefoot or have to have a little bit of a shoeing package on it. So they're also looking at alignment too. So those are things that, from a veterinarian standpoint, we're looking at it, and it's case by case. So I don't want to pontificate too much about that, but we can go on. Just alignment is what I want to put this slide up, is alignment, not only of the shoeing balance, but also of the bone structure underneath. And then the next one, surprises that you might find with your diagnostics is you might find a ringing plate in a horse that is a retired thoroughbred off the track that we don't know why he got retired, but and if you look at the skin here, it's really interesting. You see just a little bit of a wave in the skin there. I had no freaking clue this horse had a plate that was plating his pasture joint. I had a feeling because of the range of motion. But I was like, there's something not quite right with this. So then that's why the horse was retired. They left that because it was the second one that Dr. Hopper had ever placed in there that broke and it didn't need to take out. Yeah, so Dr. Hopper down in First Room was one that tossed that one in there. And he's like, it's not moving and it hasn't moved. Luckily, it hasn't moved in 4 years. But good catch.
All right, this is Raina. Sharon, oh, it's her.
Wow.
Well, that picture's
The
not
case is
her.
not it.
That's the horse showing off the Pro 6. But this is the story of Raina.
And let me just interrupt real quick. So this, I want to just get ahead of this is a really cool case where it's a combination of training, veterinary work, and using the toys and the tools that Jennifer's implements into her program to be able to bring out that help the horse evolve from here to here. So that's what I wanted to just interject that.
So at our farm, I'm very much a tool lover. Like I love therapy tools. I have got so many therapy tools, which is why we started talking about when the two of us slow down, we're going to put together this 4-horse wellness center because between the two of us have tons and tons of therapy tools, and we just love driving on like, let's make this horse more comfortable and happy and better, and be able to do its job and make its owners happy. So the Pro 6 is a tool that I actually have a client, Rosanna, who got the first one of the people that I knew back 3 years ago for her Frisian who had PPM. And so she had done a bunch of research, and she's amazing at research, and found out that this tool would be very helpful for her horse who was lacking coordination. So then my 3-horse Dreamy was smiling in the beginning. He wound up going through double column surgery 7 days apart last September, at literally 10 days after getting 80% at the Grand Prix stop. So support him. He's wearing a hernia belt, but I wanted to be able to support him when he goes to turnouts. He can't go to turnout with his hernia belt. And I also wanted him to not lose all of his stature, his musculature, so I wanted to be able to help him with his core strength. And so I turned to Rosanna and I said, so what do you think about the Pro 6? And she goes, you know what, I'll let you use mine, because he's after him, because her horse was here. And so I bought it from her. It was 3 years old, and it is exactly the same as the new ones are today. Put it on, and I just could not even believe how my horse, who was, his belt is hanging, he's got one surgical line here, one on the left side, so it actually went through his muscles on the left side, not just where they connect to the sternum, or beyond the sternum in the middle. And he stands in the cross ties, and he just stands up, like he just lifts his sternum, lifts his back, and he's just standing there like I was sitting on him, and I said, whoa, that's amazing. So then we started keeping it out of in the stall, and I used that one that I got from Rosanna and put it on my mare, who I had used the Evercore pad on, so that's the pad that has the strap that goes around the back, and then the one that goes underneath. And my mare is, if you know anything about dressage, she's a Glamourdale daughter, and so she has a massive engine and front legs that can do that. And that Evercore pad, because there was nothing around the front, just made her go faster and more on the forehand, and because it just sent her engine under. So I said, that's not going to work, but let me try this Pro 6 thing, and I put it on her, and she suddenly was carrying herself, and I was like, light bulb, that's amazing. So what the Pro 6 does, it actually works on the nerves that are in the skin or under the skin. So it's not tight. You don't want it tight. It is literally about reconnecting the brain to the nerves, and so that the body learns where the parts are again. So, like for Dream, it's super important that this area that's had all of this, the surgical incisions and the massive infection he had after that, the brain reattaches to it. So then I started riding all of the horses in it, and what astonished me was that I could put a Pro 6 on a client's horse, and the client gets on, and the horse goes as if I had just ridden the horse. And I said, wow, that's amazing. I am blown away by that, because it just helps the horse's brains connect to their legs, and so that their momentum doesn't overwhelm their feet. So Reyna is one of my client's horses, and she had a history of having been a trail horse. Sharon wanted to do more with her, and so you can go ahead. So this is an example of Reyna. We just diagnosed her as having DVM. So this is her just with nothing on. So you can just see she's super cute, guys. She's a great little horse. So she's just got her head up in the air, her belly's really down, her hind legs are out behind her, her front legs are kind of underneath her. So this is just so you can see where she is in her natural balance. So she's maybe been treated 7 days or so at that point, I think when we did these videos, right, for the DVM?
Yeah.
So now here's a cute sped up video of how to put a Pro 6 on. I don't actually.
And then the thing, while you're watching the video, the really cool thing is it's not tight or snug. And again, it's another modality to add to your arsenal so that you can make the horse reconnect mentally. So when she said, Jen rides the horse, she gets off, she puts a line on, that horse mentally knows where it's supposed to be moving, how it's supposed to be moving, and it's retraining from the biomechanics of what the vet's looking at. It's retraining the horse. You can see in this look at the carriage and how much more confident the horse is from a vet standpoint where the engine is driving from it and how she's working. You want to hit that one more time? I think that's such a good word. Oh, yeah, that's good. And Jen, what do you see when you're looking at this? What are you kind of looking at?
So what's amazing to me is how confident the horses get. So I have put side reins on, they're quite long, but to show that there's really not much difference here between she's just doing the natural balance and then with side reins on that are loose and floppy, that she's really just, and I'm not sure why the video got cut off when she started pandering there. I think we just were trying to cut for time. But yes. Yeah, you do. Let me answer that in a second. So, interestingly, so if you guys are familiar with the Equine Performance Center up at MSU, Hillary Clayton was there when it started, and then Dr. Stephanie Valberg, and now Dr. Jane Manfredi is up there. So Jane has started researching the Pro 6, and the first results she's gotten back are that it literally reduces cortisol levels in the horse once it's been put on. So they don't...
I.e. stress.
Stress, right.
Stress.
Yeah, stress hormone is being
And you can
reduced.
see how peaceful her head carriage is. I think that a lot of times, especially right now, our industry, the trainers are getting unfairly inundated with, you're beating the horse, you're doing all this BS, it's really part of the horse, and this you can see is extremely kind to the horse. It's very peaceful, it's not a tight issue, and from my standpoint, it helps the horse biomechanically move more properly, and like you were saying about the cortisol levels, the horse is less stressed.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. It's been incredible. I mean, I've had, hang on just one second. I've had, I think we must have 10 or 12 of them now at the farm, and I have them among my clients out around the country too. And it's amazing how much quieter the horses are. And so the benefit of it is not only in the moment when the horse is more comfortable, they're more balanced, they're more coordinated, but you're building the right muscles, you're building the right patterns, you're replacing the bad pattern where the horse is like when you have your arms full of groceries and you're stepping downstairs and you miss a step and the groceries pull you forward. That's what happens to horses. Their head and neck is so much weight out in front of their front feet. Their head and neck is always pulling them down onto their sternums, down onto their front feet, on the forehead. So if this alone can get them so that they go, oh, I can actually rock back, I can carry my own head and neck up in a natural balance and be comfortable, that's great. They can live in this. They can go out in pasture. They can be in their stalls. They can just work in it. All of these things. Everything is possible, and it's not invasive. Obviously not chemical, you know. So somebody asked, what's the acclimation period? They recommend that you put it on in the stall for 30 minutes, an hour, put it on and turn out, that kind of thing. I always say if you're going to use something that's new and you're going to use it when you're working the horse, put it on the lunge line first with a halter. Let the horse just figure it out. And there was another question. Yes.
No, so what it is have you ever seen those little thunder shirts that they put on dogs for? So what that is doing is it's creating actual nerve pressure by interacting with the muscle bodies themselves, where the nerves all run through, and then that transmits a signal back to the core nerves that are in charge of firing those muscle bodies to relax. When those muscle bodies relax and the cortisol level drops, then that translates to the brain. Okay, I can take a breath. Okay, I can. So it's a big cascade of nerve cooling. It's not necessarily fooling the nerves, but it's supporting the nerves in that it then allows the body to use those muscles more biomechanically correct, and then that's how you get the more proper movement out of it too.
And it's not...
It's very interesting, yeah. It's very innovative in the market for sure. It is, it's very funny.
But it's actually based on research that's been done back in the 70s,
yeah.
from the Russian cosmonauts.
Yeah.
So literally they came up with the concept because their cosmonauts were coming back to Earth and they had no muscle. They had, the neurons weren't fired, they didn't know how to move their arms and legs. So they came up with a band system. And then there's something called the body brain that's been developed for humans. And it's used in physical therapy for humans who have had amputations. They have phantom limb pain, hypermobile joints. It actually wraps around your body all the way out to your fingers and toes. parts, and nothing is tight. It's literally about the nerves. So this is not novel. It's novel in the horse industry. And we're just sharing it with you because it's only one of the many things that we do at my farm.
It's really, it is amazing. And, you know, the other types of therapies that you can use in conjunction with it are like the laser therapies, the red light therapies, and having like your veterinarian use shockwave therapy or a higher power laser system. I think that when you get one thing from a veterinarian standpoint is trying to have a conversation with your regular veterinarian of what they feel confident in and what they might not feel confident in. When I don't feel confident in something, especially early in my career, if you would have told me about acupuncture or chiropractics, I didn't know a whole lot about it, so I thought, well, this is shit. It doesn't work, right? And that was an absolute embarrassment for even me to say today. But now, I mean, I have chiropractors work on all of my own horses, my wife's horses, my daughter's horses, all of our clients' horses. I have the acupuncturists. I have people who are communicating, just trying to maintain an open mind about things and an open mind about certain new ideas and like Jen was just saying about the Pro 6, new innovations, because even though we might not understand it now, if it does work, then we might figure out how it works down the road. 2003, real quick story, I know I'm out of time. 2003, when they very first came out with shockwave therapy as a healing method, the two guys from Wisconsin State were giving their big presentation at the AAEP convention where it's only equine practitioners and it's a nice small round table group like this. And I raised my hand, I said, well, how does it work? And they looked at each other and they're like, we don't have a clue. But it works. And it did. And now fast forward 23 years, it is possibly one of the most accepted and best therapies for soft tissue injuries out there. So it's really cool because I just wanted to thank Jen for asking me to give this talk with her and into because they really made me feel very loved and very welcomed into their family, not only as a veterinarian but also as a friend. But it does take a team of people, and if your veterinarian doesn't feel comfortable doing sport course, that's okay. I don't feel comfortable doing all of your pre-production work. I think that it's very good for somebody else to do the repro work, and I'll take the sport courses. All right. And just like with working with Jen, she is wonderful at keeping an open mind to all the different modalities and information to make her the best trainer that she can be for her clients and for her horses. So that from a vet standpoint, that's my little soapbox, and then I'll let you take it. Thank you for having
Sure.
me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
So the program has us in the wrong booth. We're actually in booth 1105. I know we've had some people not be able to come with us and then eventually find us. So Bryan will be around today, and otherwise he has network he's got to do, and probably a horse show there too.
Yeah.
So he's actually a successful thoroughbred rider. So that's another thing that I love about my vet is he's a real rider too. Of course, not just horse owner, not a supportive horse husband only. He actually is out there showing himself. So, I think that you've got to make sure you're surrounded by people who totally understand you inside and out and your love for your horse. So these are the cool new products that we've just launched here at Vita Fair at our booth. And come stop by, have a talk with us, ask questions, whatever. Thank you so much for taking your time this
Yeah, we'll
morning.
be right in the back. I'll be right here for a little bit. So
I
thank
really
you for your
appreciate
time.
it. Thanks.